setup, we will, you can see your volume, your Wi-Fi, your Bluetooth. In the middle where there's 2 arrows and a tablet icon next to the Bluetooth, you can lock your screen so it stays in landscape mode. And it is best, just like the iPad, that we work in landscape mode. So if you go ahead and click it, it should be grayed out. If you click it, it's going to make it, right here, if you can see it on my screen. If you tap it, it's going to turn blue and that'll lock it. And then from there, you can do airplane mode, you can check your battery power, etc. So this also has your notification settings, etc., that you can go into if you want your volume to be turned down, you want your notices to not blink at you, make all kinds of noise, the tapping on your keyboard, everything is in this notification window. And where the little settings gear is up in the right-hand corner, if you click on that, that's going to take you further into more settings. All right, looks like we're back up. So I really encourage you to play in that so you can understand that piece of it, okay? Any other questions before I move on? All right, so now we should be back up and running. Everybody see my screen now? You can see my home screen again?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. So we know that everything is pretty much the same. The other thing I'll call out before we get into the store call and start actually looking at things is Share Plus. That is actually Docker Locker, but it's called Share Plus on this device. Around this, there's really nothing different in it. A few minor test environment, and when you do your store calls, we're going to talk more about that at the end of the call. You're going to be working in your, you're going to clock into SAS Prod like you normally do, right? Clock in and clock out, track your mileage, everything. Then you're also going to do the exact same things in your test environment. So I'm clicking on the test icon right now. Let me get that screen fixed. Oh, don't restart the app, please. Dinesh, do you know how to get us out of this screen? To get us out of split screen? I've not seen that. Of course, when it rains, it, let me, oh, I don't want to close that again, darn it.
Sean, I don't.
You don't? Okay, so that's really interesting that it's doing that. So give me one more second, guys. Did somebody have a question for me? I'm turning down this multi-window thing. I'm trying to get rid of it real quick because that's never popped up before. We always know something happens, right? I'm going to close all.
You need to hit the home screen button and then hit the little square. That's how it works on all Android phones.
Ah, perfect. Okay. The little square? What little square?
It's going to be by the home button. So you're going to see the little...
Oh, yeah, that wasn't giving...
triangle.
Yeah, that... Yeah,
well,
it's not giving
when you hit
me...
the little
There we go.
square, there's going to be a thing for split screen, and that's how you get rid of them. I have this tablet myself for personal use.
Do ya? Okay. So good. All right. Give me one more second. It's trying to reconnect again, guys and gals. Okay. So just so we're all on the same page, when I do get logged in here, you want to be on... Oh, I love it when I have technical difficulties here. All right. For those of you who are following along, we are on the sign-in page to get into the application. If you back on my screen, I'm going to try this again. We're going to go into the test environment, which was working perfectly fine this morning. Right now, I'm going to sync later, so this may come up and ask you for a refresh, and it'll tell you the time that it was done. But because I'm already in progress in a call, I just want to, I'm going to save this for later so I can show you guys everything. So anytime you open up your schedule for the day, you may have a notification, and it'll tell you the number of notifications you have. You'll definitely want to open this because there's something there that you need to read. So click on open. And up here in the right-hand corner, when you're looking there, you'll see spooky trees are in store. So when you click on it and open it, it's not actually opening it full screen. So it may take a second for you to realize that it's there. So tap on it. And what it's asking, it's an alert. It's telling you to read the message and then acknowledge it. So for this one, Dinesh put in a test, and I have to say I acknowledge that I got the alert and I have no questions, or you have a question, or I need to call back from supervisor. Whatever the alert is, somebody from home office, from the main office, will be sharing that to us out of Rogers. And I just click submit. Out of my way. So on the left-hand side, you're used to seeing that schedule in SAS Prod, right? And for right now, you see schedule all the way back to October. Don't worry about that. It's still going to stay only 5 days for you all. It'll only be loaded by week, so disregard my schedule. So when you get into your store, you're going to go to your physical store. You're going to find the date you need to work with. And right now, I'm in progress. If you had a store in progress, another day you forgot to close it, etc., not that that happens, right? Because we're all perfect at closing our stores. It will not let you start another call with a store in progress. So you're going to get an alert that's going to say you have a store in progress. You're going to have to go find it, typically the day before, and figure out which store you need to be closing so you can start your call. So right now, down here at the bottom on the right-hand side, and you're going to see a start button. And we'll go again through this again tomorrow, right? So right now it says it's in progress. I've already clocked in. You would still do your start driving, etc. So everything you do in SAS Prod is going to be the exact same thing right now. Make sure you're in the right store, that you start driving, that you hit start, and that you're on the right date. Questions on that piece? So I'm in progress, and now we're in the store screen. So if you're on the presentation itself, folks who are following along, you are going to be on page 7 is where you should be. That's what we just finished up. Okay. And then you're going to jump to slide 11. All right. So anytime you go into a store call, there could be instructions or trainings set up for you to review. And these are part of the project, and they get loaded at the beginning. So you always, if you have not reviewed them all, it's kind of like going into pitch book. Make sure you load and look at all of the instructions, trainings that are happening. And you do that by clicking on the eye icon. And it's bringing up pictures. It'll show you presentations, etc. The main thing to remember here is I can exit out on my screen, but on your device, you want to hit the back button, which is above the home button. So it brought me back, and why it took me to gallery, I don't know. And you will have a list. You can have one thing loaded. You can have 5 things loaded. It opens up JPEGs, PDFs, PowerPoint presentations. Right now, it's downloading my PowerPoint presentation. And if you've not ever downloaded them before, it may take a few minutes, and you have to hit it twice in order for it to physically open for you. And everything defaults, even in Doc Lockers, aka Share Plus, it's going to open up in Office. Okay, so we have to definitely make sure Office gets loaded if you don't have that icon on your home screen. Again, if I want to get out, we'll go. Ads. Come on, let us out of there. Come on. Quit, cancel. Hey, are those ads ever going to go away, Dinesh?
I don't get them, but well, we can
we'll
work
have to
on
find
it
out why we do.
Yeah.
All right, so we know we're very familiar with the schedule page. We're very familiar with the store page. We're going to go on to the continuity page. So you can tap on the continuity icon on the left-hand side, or just go to continue to continuity at the bottom of your screen, and that's where I'm going to click, is on the bottom. So Questions? All right. I just moved it to summary view because that's the default we're going to be working in. Can everybody see on my screen? We're on the continuity screen and we're under summary view. Make sure nobody's lagging behind on the iPad. Okay. So on the continuity screen, this is where we're going to do all of our work. So on the iPad, we have like the activity summary screen, we have the hotlines, the problem screen, we've got the alert, anything that we have in the iPad and when we're the activity area is all going to be the summary view, basically. And this is where we're going to work. And this will eventually default to summary. So just know that if you do end up in list view, you want to make sure you're in summary view instead. So on this page, this tells us all of our action service types, right? So here's all the categories. And then we have these 4 areas we're working in. So you'll have merchandising, audits, engagement is selling, and then assembly, which is like putting fixtures together, that type of thing. And there'll be more information on this soon. But bottom line, you're going to come here and you're going to do your store call the exact same way you always do it, right? You're going to go in, log in, you're going to get your Rocket card, etc., and you're going to start at the front end of the store. You're going to work it exactly the same way you do now. So if we were, I'm going to go to a simple one. I'm going to go to, and this goes down in this category side. Oh, there's only 3 things loaded for this particular call. So everything that's loaded for this call is going to be loaded for what they exactly want you to do in the store call. Okay, and we're going to talk more about that at the end because we have some important information on this apples to apples test. I'm going to say that I'm in the candy aisle for this example, and I know that I have 2 merchandising activities to do. So I'm going to click on my service type action type, and it looks like I need to do an OSCA, which is on-shelf customer availability activity, and then I need to build a display feature, all right? So this is the category we're in, the candy aisle. And we are going to click on this first one. So I'm going to do an inventory check. So your left-hand side of your screen gives you information about your product, gives you a UPC number, size pack, etc. And then down at the bottom, there might be more information like a more info link to click on, an image or a document to read. And there could be instructions for you to review. On the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see your title of what you're doing. So you're doing an inventory check. And you are checking for this 18-piece cube. So we are going to go over here and we're going to tell them what we found. So it can be either out of stock, no tag, it's on the shelf, distribution void, similar to what we already do every day in our stores. I'm going to say that it is on shelf. From there, it's going to ask us, the little asterisks on the right-hand side are always going to be mandatory. You have to answer those in order to complete the process. So right now I'm going to select it, and it says it's on the shelf, and I'm going to confirm it. So can you all see the pick list? I want to make sure I'm still not lagging behind on the iPad. For iPad users, can you see the action pick list?
Yep.
Perfect. Having to go out of the screen. So you know how you had to go to the order screen to get credit for an order screen? You have to go to another screen to get merchandising taken care of? You don't have to do that anymore. It's all in this one page. So if you were going to be making additional orders, you placed an order with the department manager, etc., it's right there.
Nice.
And then as we scroll down, isn't that great? As we scroll down, you're going to be able to add your merchandising activities. So if I click select, I'm going to say that even though it's on the shelf, I packed out product. And then from there, I can collect, I packed out 1 case. And because we're dealing with top stock and cases out of the back room, you're going to, you know how it was one flat reporting and they would figure that out on the back end? You're going to report it as is from what I understand. Correct, Dinesh? And whoever else is on from?
Yes.
Yes. So we'll have more definitions and stuff being sent out to you, but that's the one change I would call out, that we're not just saying it was cases. We want to make sure that we write in eaches or cases, whatever it is, units or cases, sorry. All right, and then if you need to add another merchandise activity, you can. You can add. You're all still in the same screen, okay?
So nice.
Isn't it? Okay, so from there, if you have a survey loaded, you would go to the surveys. Oops, sorry. You would click on the surveys, and right now there is no survey for me to click on. It's not, there's nothing loaded. However, it is asking me to take 2 pictures. The pictures are going to, if it's going to be mandatory for a picture, it's going to be up to the business development manager, the business manager for that. So you may or may not need to do that. For now, it's asking me to capture it. I can capture the image live, or I can select an image. I'm just going to capture it so you can see my camera open. And you can see this little cricket dude right here on my table. Took a picture, and I selected it. Okay. Asking me call out I would say here is the save button. So you know how we are in our iPad and we answered on shelf confirmed and we move on, right? In this application, in this program, we have to hit the save button. So we saved it, and once we did that, on the status over here on the right-hand side under the scan button, do you see how it checked it off green? It's complete. If it was not complete, that green would not come up, or a red would not come up. So the status button is really telling you whether or not you completed it, whether you did a positive or negative action. So let's say we did a negative action there instead of a positive. It would still check it off, but it would be in red. Does that make sense? It's just telling us that we either did a positive or a negative, but it's done.
Sean, what's the maximum number of photos that can be taken in a call?
Good question. Dinesh, can you answer that?
I'm not aware of any limits.
Yeah, I didn't think there was either, but.
Hey, this is Colton. I'll tell you that there isn't a limit, but the more pictures you take, the probably slower your sync is going to be.
Ah, good call out.
So if you take 100 pictures, your sync might take 100 minutes.
Please don't take 100 pictures.
Tell that to the BDMs.
Tell that to the BDMs. There you go. All right, so just to finish out this category, and I can get to another example, I'm going to click on the next one, which is in this candy category, and that's a display feature. So I clicked on the display feature. That same product information came up. It's asking us to place a feature in the appropriate display location and take all actions to ensure it's in the best position to sell. So the title is over there. It's telling us what to do. We read the instructions, and I'm going to say that the display is not up, right? So did you see the little toggle? I can go right for green, and it's always located in the middle. But this time I'm going to that store manager refused. And at this point, nothing else is happening, right? I do have to come down and tell them why the manager refused. Does not want. And then you would hit the return button above the home button to get back to the main screen. There is no survey for me to answer, and it's not asking me for any pictures. Then I would once again hit save. Okay? Questions so far on that piece? I'm going to go back through it again in just a second, but I'm going to go back and turn it green. So I'm going to say that I built it. And I'm going to say I built one display. Oh. I'm going to say 45 cases. Oops. See, I'm still getting used to it myself, and I've had it for a while. Next. And then I'm going to say cases. There's no exceptions. I'm going to take out that word does not want because we did a positive action. And now it's asking for pictures again. So I'm going to capture an image this time so you can see, and I'm just going to go in and pick a picture from the photo album. Click on the camera again, select an image. I'm going to do that again. Okay. So what do we need to do in order to finish this out? We can't hit the X at the top, right?
You gotta save it.
We're going to save it. Awesome. So now we can see two things have been accomplished there. Can I go back in and look at it again? Yes. Could I go back and change my answer? Yes. I'm just going to type something in just so you can see what it looks like on the next screen. Save. And now do you see what I was talking about a few minutes ago? The status is green for the positive action we did on OSCA, but our display feature, we didn't do a positive action, and that's why it's showing in red. Okay? Screen on the now we're going to go, we don't want to go to store visit because we know we have other work to do, right? So now we have to go back to summary view, and we're going to click on that tab again. And it is showing 3 of 2. Dinesh, Colton, or Jason. Why would it show 3 of 2 when we only had?
That's a bug. It looks like since you changed your response, that may have incremented.
Okay, so that's what did it. Good. Okay. See, that's a good thing we practice that stuff. All right, so we know that in the candy aisle, we have nothing else to complete. If you're looking left to right, we finished our work in merchandising. We finished our work in audit. There's nothing loaded for audit, engagement, or assembly. Okay? So we're walking the store again, and we're over in the pharmacy, and it says we have to do merchandising and an audit for eye contact. So I'm going to click on that, and it wants us to do a freshness audit. And we are going to click on the action to take, and it is telling us that here's the product. It's telling us we need to place the closest expiration dated product in front of on the front of the shelf, and place the fresher product at the back of the shelf. So left side tells you lots of information about your product itself, and then on the right side, it's where you're taking your action. So we completed our audit, so I'm going to toggle to the right so it goes green. We didn't find any out-of-dates, and there was a bug I alerted to the other day, and it looks like they fixed it. So I'm just going to say we found 0 out-of-dates. From here, this is just like what we do with Smucker rotations. So when we do rotations, it's going to be a freshness audit instead of rotations. It didn't ask us to do that, but it wasn't in the instructions, but it is saying that we have to fill this out. So I'm going to say the next date is December 28th. We're done. Wasn't that the easiest calendar ever?
Yeah, you.
Hey, Sean.
By the screen.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Hey, this is one. Are we able to click on the year up there and it move it, or are we going to have to go with the arrow button and move it manually like that?
You're going to have to move it manually. Correct, Dinesh and Colton? Anybody else? I've not seen that other than to be, you have to go all the way through the calendar.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. Okay. So I put in December 2019 for this one. We don't have to answer any of the exception questions, and there's no survey loaded. We'll have to make sure some surveys are loaded for the next one so we can look at those. I don't know if there's any loaded today. Again, you have to hit the return button to get back to that screen, and it's asking for an after picture. I'm just going to go and capture something from, we'll capture that silly looking cricket there again. All right, we'll make sure we get some good screenshots there for you. And we're going to hit save, right? And look what happened. Something happened. It did not turn green on the status. Let's go back to the audit and see what I missed. So Dinesh, I don't think that bug is fixed. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to put in the number 1 and say that we did find an out of date and see if saving it that did. So we still have that bug, folks. We'll get that fixed. But right now, If it doesn't turn green for you, you know you have to go back in, and for a freshness audit, it sounds like, it definitely looks like you have to enter a number higher than 0 in order for it to take it correctly. Dinesh, is that right? Because unless I'm missing something, that's the way we would do it.
Yeah, we'll test it out separately.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Sean?
yes.
Sean, if we find an out of date, how do we scan it and put to claims?
Good question. We're not in that piece yet, so we're going to do that in another one.
Okay. It is. I just
can't-
wanted to make sure it wasn't part of the question. If you answered that, it would kick you to.
Yeah, it's not asking for that. We haven't spent a lot of time in recall yet, so we'll probably be looking at that tomorrow when we get into the more difficult or the more intricate questions as far as what we look here. So great call out. I'll make sure that's on tomorrow's call.
Thank you.
Are all
right.
the Smucker's dates from the iPad that we've entered already going to be transferred over, or are we going to have to manually re-enter everything again?
Good question, Colton.
Can you repeat that? Are all
Currently, when we're doing our Smuckers, we've gone through all the Smuckers things that normally are out of dates, and we've entered the nearest expiration date, and we have it for pretty much all the products, and it's up to date in the iPad currently. When we're doing the pilot and switching to this system, is that information going to transfer, or are we going to have to re-enter dates for every Smuckers product?
Pilot is not available. We're working to see if we can get that ready for launch.
So keep in mind, whatever they load for you is they're doing the most important priority things for this pilot. So if it needs to be rotated there, it's definitely because they loaded it that way. It's different than, Colton, can you explain that real quick to them, what the difference is between what you load to the iPad and what you load here?
The difference between what I load to the iPad from Stay in Front and from what we're loading here?
Yes.
In the SAS system? Well, the biggest difference is from a sales planning perspective, we basically have built out specific action types for each task that we are asking you guys to complete in the store. So we've identified that here, really what we're asking you to do are these 15 things, right? And that's what our clients are consistently asking for. And that's what we've done is we basically built out actions for all the on the iPads, and you've really got 5 buckets that you're reporting against. You're reporting in distribution. It also has a phantom inventory screen. You're reporting in merchandising, you're reporting in order entry, you're reporting on surveys, and you're reporting on promotions. What we're transferring all of that work that you would be doing in those 5 buckets in is into an individual action type. So I think you guys were calling it out earlier when Sean was going through some of them. It's like, well, you know, I captured this opportunity on the shelf, maybe, and now I don't have to go to order entry. Now I don't have to go to merchandising as well. I can do it all from the exact same screen. So that's the goal.
And the Yep, go ahead.
Yeah. So that was the goal, was to try and simplify it for you guys, you know, operationally. We don't want you to have to be flipping back and forth, and we don't want it to be confusing. We want it to be as intuitive as possible.
Right, and they're only loading what you need to do that day. So it'll be making the determination correct. If it can be called on later in the cycle, you're not going to load it for that day. You're going to load the top priorities, correct?
Right, yes. So just briefly, I don't want to go too much into depth.
Right. No, I get it.
But this is completely different, guys. Expect this to be completely different. We are not going to market the same way we've done so in the past. So the system is designed to basically create a custom store call for every single visit. So every single time you walk into the store, you are going to see a different list of tasks that you have the opportunity to execute on. And there's an internal algorithm that determines all of that based on some things that we put in here in the office. It's also attempting to create a manageable visit. So one of the things we know today is at the beginning of the cycle, right, we front load all of this work, and we're asking you to go in on the first visit, and there's no way you can usually complete all the tasks on that first visit because there's so much work in there. Is build a visit that is representative of the amount of time you have to work in that store. So if you're scheduled for 6 hours, we're trying to make sure that there's only 6 hours worth of work in there for you to do.
Excellent. Thanks.
Outside of that,
spend a lot of time in that.
Yeah, the only other thing I would add is that there are no more call modes or call types. Every call, you could kind of consider it to be an all call. You're going to be working the entire store on every visit, and we're asking you to really do the most important things that we've said, hey, this visit, this is the most important work. So it's very critical that we try to complete the entire visit every single time. Ultimately, what you want is green check marks all the way down. Should be enough time for you to get those tasks done, and the tasks that you are looking at are the most critical tasks that we're asking you to do. Those are the most important things we could ask you to do on that visit. The things that aren't that important didn't make it into the visit. So I would say those are the key differentiators from the SAS system if you're going to compare it to stay in front on the iPad.
Perfect.
Love it.
Thanks, cool. Right? Okay, so we only have a little bit of time left. This call went by really fast, but so far so good, hopefully, with everybody. We again can see that we completed what we were supposed to do. We have our status is green. Over on the blue ribbon side, on the left-hand side, you can see we did our call complete, continuity 1 of 1 done. So we're going to go back to our summary view because we know we still have work to do. And I'm going to just wrap up this air freshener assembly one. So we know we're going to go over to assembly on the right-hand side. We're going to tap on it. It's going to bring us to an installation. So we're going to click on that. And what it's asking us to do is follow the attached instructions to update, reset fixtures, shelving, or signage in the store. So again, left side tells you what you need to know about the item. Right-hand side is where you're going to do all of your reporting. Okay. So on this one, I am going to click that the installation was complete. The quantity again is 3, and we're going to go down. We'll make sure that's captured tomorrow. And then images, it's mandatory again for this one. I'm going to capture those in from my device in my photo album. Pretty simple across the board. Everything again is in the same screen, etc. So what am I going to do again to get out of this and save it?
Hit save.
There you go. So we're done. All right, so we know I'm going to go back to the summary view one more time and make sure nothing got missed. There's only 3 things loaded for the store, fastest store call ever. I've completed all my work. Everything's in the green. We do know that under candy aisle, under merchandising, there's a little bug there where I went back and changed my answer. So that's not showing in the green, but it is done. I have completed 2 of 2. Questions before I move on? We're going to open it up for questions when we get to the next step, but I want to get through the store call here real quick.
So that one under audit for eye care, is that just a...
Oh, I missed one. Yep. Yep. So I'll go back. Thank you, Shauna, for catching that one. So this one is asking for us to complete an audit. So I'm going to tap on it. Make sure the planogram is correct. So over on the right, I'm going to say that the audit is complete. The planogram is correct. There's no surveys, nothing, no pictures needed. Oh, it's asking for an after picture. And then save again, except for the one thing I didn't notice is it does have a link. So it is telling me to go to google.com, and we went to google.com. Okay, I'm going to exit out of that. We've answered everything. Save. Let's go back to summary view. And we have it all, right? I don't see anything else loaded. Thanks for catching that, Shauna. Guess we'll have to keep a close eye on that, considering how little numbers are. All right, so I've finished everything I need to do in this store. The store summary visit, you can go to it, but we hitting the button on the left on the blue ribbon, or just go to save and continue. So in this screen, you need to set your time, right? So you're going to click on time. I just clicked on this time just like we do in prod right now. I'm going to say it's 5:20. I'm going to click OK. The one thing I did notice is it doesn't matter. You can hit the stars, hit save, and that save button goes away. But when I hit complete shift, it has completed the shift for me. So I have a question out on that little bug thing there, if it's even a bug, but my shift is there, and now it's synchronizing. Give it just a second. And while that's syncing, we want to talk about what's going to happen for the pilot itself. So if you're following along on the presentation, I want you to go back to slide 3. We'll let that sync, and we'll come back to that in a few minutes to make sure it's still synchronizing. So keep in mind, while it's in this testing phase, and we've got all this stuff happening, and how it depends on how much is loaded, your connection, all of that is going to determine how long that syncing takes. We've all very clear with that, right? Just because we see it in the iPad all the time from the syncing perspective.
Hey,
and once
Sean,
that's done, yes.
we have a hard stop at 3:30, okay?
Yep, we do. So I'm going to move off of this and go back to the presentation because I want to talk about what you're going to be doing. So when you start your day, when we start this testing on Monday, right, you're going to start, you're going to be working in 3 different systems during this entire pilot. So you're going to make sure you still clock into your SAS prod, clock in there, start your driving, because we want you to get paid. So just remember that. Always clock into prod so you can get paid. You're going to do the exact same thing. Start your time. You're going to start your driving in the pilot testing application. We're testing to make we have to report against what we reported against in the application itself, the continuity app. You're still going to log into Volt as usual. You're still going to download your store call. You're going to want to set that. Once you do your store call, once you get into your iPad and you find your store and download it, you're going to want to set it aside for later in the day. You're not going to use that at this point. So Dinesh, you want to talk a little bit about this piece? Do you have anything else you want to add before I go?
No, go ahead.
You're good so far? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what you want to do is you're going to set your device aside, your iPad, because you want to do everything in your test environment first. And as you already saw, we have a summary view we can look at and go back to. So you can take notes on paper if you want. However you want to do it, just know that you want to complete your total call in the continuity device, in the continuity app, because we need to know how long it takes so that we're loading the right time. So that's very important that we do that first, and then we're going to go back and report in the iPad. So don't walk around with the iPad and the tablet and try to do both at the same time. You have to set it aside. All right, work the SAS call. Don't complete the shift. So once you get done, you know how we just completed the shift on I did all that summary view, and I answered all the questions in the app. We do not want to end our call. You want to keep it open until you report in the iPad. Okay, so again, work the call on the continuity test app. Do not close your shift until you've done your reporting in your iPad. So do your work, go get your iPad, open up the summary view in the continuity test environment, and start reporting what you need to in your iPad. So you can do that over to Subway or sitting on a bench. Just make sure that if you don't leave the store, you want to report everything in the store. That's just in case you have to go back and report on merchandising that maybe you need to, instead of scanning, you can, best practices to go walk the store again and take care of your merchandising piece of it. So don't leave the store until you've done reporting on both. Just know that questions on that piece? I know I went a little bit around there, so I
Yeah,
want to make sure everybody
this Roxanne
understands.
Nicodemus. I have a quick question for you. Will it be
Mm-hmm.
a complete store call, or will it be just a limited number of tasks for them to do in the trial?
Good question. So yes, what's going to happen is they're only going to load certain things, and when you open up your iPad to report, you're going to open, and when you go to download your store and you're going to report, you're going to open your call in an all call in regular so that we can track all that. Know that your leadership team knows that you're not going to get dinged for anything you don't answer in the iPad. You are really only going to answer exactly what you reported on in the continuity app. So if there's 10 things loaded in the continuity app, there's only those 10 things you're going to answer in the iPad. Make sense?
Absolutely. Great. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so don't panic because, we know you got a lot of work to do, but we also don't want you to get dinged. So your iPad has to be in all call mode. You're going to do a regular call. You're not going to report in that till you get done with the SAS call, the continuity call. Don't close your shift on the continuity call until you've reported in the iPad. And do not leave the store before reporting in the iPad. That way you can go back to a shelf if you need to. So it's all right here in this process, and read it, and then if you have questions, we can go through those again tomorrow. We only have a few minutes left for this call. How's everybody feeling? Pretty good? Overwhelmed?
Yeah.
That
Excited.
are we doing?
Excited.
So that means we're doing all calls for 4 weeks. Is that essentially what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
And and Colton has said many, many times, we're only going to load if it's important. It's going to get done. So I know the leadership, your DROs, your ROMs, everybody's concerned about making sure we meet all of our client perspective things that need to be done. Just know that they're going to load exactly. Be careful about things.
Yeah, so I want to add to that briefly. When you're regularly conducting a visit, I'm sure you guys have a list of clients that you know you need to hit in those stores, right? I got to do coverage for this client, I got to do coverage for this client, etc. The SAS system is testing out when those are showing up and making sure they're going to show up at the right time, right? So your weekly clients, they should be there. However, just because if it's not a weekly client, just because you're doing a call doesn't mean you're going to see that client for coverage that week. So I would just say to keep that in mind. Don't be alarmed if you're doing other store visits and there's other direction coming down saying, hey, we got to execute on this opportunity, and if it doesn't show up, right? Because more than likely it's not the highest priority in that store. There are other things that are superseding it at that time.
And you got to follow what the test is doing in order for it to be successful.
We have to follow the pilot, correct. We have to follow it because we have to make sure that the system logic that we have built in is working correctly.
All right, we got 2 minutes left.
Do you guys want to know if we're getting, I'll give you an example, I don't know, let's say the turkey gravy shipper is a 0 sales, so it's a really what we believe is a very highly important thing. Do you want to know if that's not showing up in a store call when we believe it should be or not?
I do not. We are going to track all of that internally. We're trying to get some tools in place too. And what we're going to do is compare basically how's the SAS system work? How did we do in the pilot? How many activities did we generate? How was coverage? And we're going to compare that to stay in front reporting as well across the chain.
Okay, perfect.
All right. I don't want to cut it short, but we only have 1 minute left, and we can talk more about this on our call tomorrow. So next steps is review what you have from the deck that we sent out. Start playing with your device. If you get stuck, your number one priority is to call the help desk or that information. And we can go in and actually see what's going on so that we can help you down the line or send it to the right person. So get your device ready for tomorrow. so that you can have that for the next call, and then write down your questions if you have any. And thanks for today. Anything before I let you go?
Is Dinesh following up on the apps that we're not seeing? Just to be
Yes.
clear. Okay.
Yeah, I'll follow up
Figure
on
out
that.
what's going on there. Yep.
Yeah.